Hello, Brandon Mill Church and friends. The focus of our hymn study this week is the Old Rugged Cross. The Old Rugged Cross is arguably one of the most popular hymns ever written for the Christian church. Thank you, Becky Holbrook, for selecting this hymn this week. It is one of my favorites, too. The Old Rugged Cross, written in 1913. Here's the story. George Beverly Shea recalls seeing George Bernard, author of this hymn, many times at Winona Lake Bible Conference in Indiana. Though a preacher, a good one, he would sometimes sing, wrote Mr. Shea. His voice was not trained or out of the ordinary, but he had great feeling and expression and could really put it over any hymn. I remember how moved I was the first time I heard him sing his own, The Old Rugged Cross. What a distinguished-looking man. Slight of build, short, with glasses. The most memorable thing about him was his long white hair. George was born in Youngstown, Ohio, shortly after the end of the Civil War. His father, a coal miner, moved the family to Iowa, and there George came to Christ through the ministry of the Salvation Army. He felt impressed to train for the ministry, but his plans were disrupted when his father's death left him responsible for his mother and his sisters. He was 16 years old. Instead of theological school, he worked by day and devoted his spare time to books. Eventually, George's obligations lessened, and he was able to move to Chicago, marry, and begin in ministry with the Salvation Army. Later, he was ordained by the Methodist Episcopal Church and became a traveling evangelist. On one occasion, after a difficult season of ministry, George realized that he needed to better understand the power of the cross of Christ. He later said, "I was praying for a full understanding of the cross. I read and studied and prayed. The Christ of the cross became more than the symbol. It was like seeing John 3:16 leave the printed page, take form, and act out the meaning of redemption. While watching this scene with my mind's eye, the theme of the song came to me." It took several months for the words to formulate in his mind. As he preached throughout the Midwest, George would carry the words with him, working on them, polishing them, and sometimes singing them in his meetings. It always struck a chord with his audiences. At last, his hymn finished, George went to the home of his friends, Reverend and Mrs. L.O. Boswick, and sang it for them. After the last note, he looked at them and asked, "Will it do?" The Boswicks were so moved that they helped pay the fees to have it printed, and it soon began appearing in hymn books across America. I will be singing verses 1 and 4 of the Old Rugged Cross. for you, Becky Holbrook.